Hello everyone, welcome to the first real module that we're working through here, imparting knowledge. So I'm going to go through some of the basics of Python, and we'll keep working Python over the next few days until we're comfortable enough to start getting into algorithms content or music content in the music class. So I'm assuming that you've seen a programming language before, like Java or something like that. And so I'm going to go over a lot of the concepts that you may have seen before, but showing them in Python syntax. So the very first thing is, okay, so I've launched up this spider directory. So let me make, so I have this working directory here, which is my home folder. You can open up any folder you want by navigating here. So actually, you know what, I'll go ahead and I'll switch into my 371 folder. This is module 1, so I'll make that my working folder here. So now, when it makes a new file to save there, okay, so let me save. Okay, it's called Untitled 1, which that's fine for now. Okay, whatever. All right, let me make this a little bigger so we can see it. Okay, so this is a Python program. So one thing you noticed right away is, okay, this little hash symbol here, the pound sign, that means comment. That's a single line comment. So this is code that's not executed. It's just there for you to write notes to yourself and to others. If you want to do a multi-line comment, then it's actually 3 quotes to begin it and 3 quotes to end it. Okay. So those are comments. What about actual code? Okay. Well, so we can do stuff like we've always done, treating a programming language like a calculator. So we have these arithmetic expressions. So for example, I could say 2 plus 2. So let's run it. Okay, so it's asking me to save. Now I can call it something different. Let me just call this module 1. Okay, so I ran this. It didn't actually do anything because I need to print the result of it. So if I say print 2 plus 2, then that should print 4. Now notice, yeah, over here is where it's actually going to run this thing and show the output. Okay, so print, that's like system.out print liner in Java or cout in C++. All right, but one thing I want to do, so this is, okay, I'm making a Python script here. It ends in the extension .py. So that's a Python file. But Python is a little different from Java and C++ in that it's actually an interpreted language, which means that you don't have to compile programs first before you run them. The Python interpreter is running at all times, and so you can actually just write code and it'll execute on the fly. You don't have to have an entire program to run a little bit of code. So I could also just, in this console in the lower right here, just write, this is called Interactive Python or IPython. I can write 2 plus 2 and it'll say 4. So for a moment, before I worry about like actually writing a fully fledged program, I'm just going to mess around in the console a little bit as we get used to some of these ideas. So, okay, so 2 plus 2 is 4. We've got the plus operation. Of course, we also have the minus operation. So 4 minus 8, well, that's negative 4. Cool. We've got division. So if I say 2 over 4, that's 0.5. Okay, good. So remember in C++ and Java, we had to be careful because if we had 2 ints and we divided an int by the other one, it would actually truncate, so it would round down. Python automatically makes everything a decimal, even if it's going to be a whole number. So for example, if I say instead of 2 over 4, if I say 4 over 2, that gives me not 2, but 2.0. So it automatically, whenever you got a division, it turns it into a floating point number. So that's something to be aware of. Okay. Of course, we also have multiplication. So 5 times 6 times tables. That's 30 right there. Okay. And we also have our modulus. Remember the modulus. So that's what you get as a remainder after division. So if I say 10 modulus 4, so that's the percent sign, 10 modulus 4, that gives me a 2. All right. Now, there's one new operator, which is not in Java or C++ that I want to point out because it'll save us some time. It's the times operator. So if I say 2 times 4, that gives me 16. Well, 2 times 4, that's not 16, that's 8. Okay, so times actually means exponent. So this really is 2 raised to the 4th power. Okay, so if I say 2 raised, or let's do another one. Let's say 5 raised to the 3rd power. That should be 125. All right, so that's really all there is to the arithmetic operations. So let's talk about variables. All right. So variables are a little easier to deal with in Python than they are also in Java and C++ because you don't have to specify a type. You just say the name and you do the assignment. So for example, if I said my age equals 31, that's it. I didn't have to say int my age equals 31 or anything like that. Python figures out the type kind of behind the scenes. So you can figure out what the type is if I say type my age. It tells me it's an int. Okay. But if I say type my age divided by 4, remember that that will automatically, division will automatically cast it to a float. Actually, I'm going to turn 32 in a month, so let me make this an even number. So if you want extra credit, just birthday presents, that's all I'm asking. No, I'm kidding, obviously. There's no bribery in this class. Okay, so remember, so if I say my age over 2, this is an even number, so it's actually still a whole number when I divide it by 2. But if I say type my age over 2, even though it's a whole number, it's going to be a float, so just be aware of that. There are a lot of bugs that can happen when you don't realize that you've accidentally made something a float, because we'll see in a moment, when you go to index arrays, it's expecting an int, and so it won't like this. Okay. All right, so that's it. So of course I could also say something like, you know, a moment ago, so I go back to my actual age now, and then I could say my age equals my age plus 31. Well, that's going to sorry, my age equals my age plus 1. So that is going to take the value that's currently in it, which is 31, add 1 to it, and then assign the result to my age. So now I'll see that it's 32. And actually, one of the cool things about interactive Python is it has a variable explorer. So it shows you up here everything that you've defined. And so you can actually look at it here. So this is very helpful for debugging. And you know, I can actually, I can do this sort of thing over here as well in a program. So I could say my age equals 31, my age equals my age plus 1. So the plus plus doesn't exist in Python, but you can say there is one shorthand. You could say my age plus equals 1. And similarly, you could also say my age, geez, I hope this doesn't happen tomorrow, but my age times equals 2 if I want to double my age. Okay. So at the end of this should be 64, because 31 plus 1 and then times 2. So let's see if it does that. So notice actually, okay, so cool. Even in the variable explorer here, I can see the result of running this program. So this, again, this will be very helpful for debugging. And just the very last thing I want to show you is just, you know, you can have these compound print statements. So don't forget the parentheses around print. So I could say my age after adding 1 and doubling is, so this is a string. We'll talk about that more in the next video. But just like a string in Java or C++. So my age after adding 1 and doubling is, and then a comma, and then I can put a variable. So it says my age after adding 1 and doubling is 64. So that's how you do formatted output there. Okay, so I'm going to have you do a quick example using some arithmetic operations and variables. And those of you who have me 173 will recognize the example. This was the first assignment in 173, but now that you've done all that, it should be a lot more straightforward than it was the first time you did it. So we're going to try to do it in Python. And then we'll move on to lists and strings.